Hello and welcome. Welcome to Quilt Conversations Live. I'm Geraldine Wilkins, the Living Water Quilter. Hello, Madonna. How are you? Marsha is here. Hello, Eileen and Deanna. How are you ladies doing? What have you been up to? Let us know in the chat. Are you finishing a project? Are you starting a new one? Have you started projects for the holidays? What have you been up to? Are you sewing? Or is life just too busy and you haven't had a chance to do any sewing or quilting? Let us know what's going on. I'm interested. I want to know what's going on. Well, for me, I've been very, very busy behind the scenes as always. And tonight we're going to talk about improv quilting. Now, I love machine quilting and I love free motion and ruler quilting. So when I think about improv quilting, I'm thinking about thread improvisational quilting. But we're going to talk about both tonight. I've done a little bit of improv. Let us know in the chat if you have done any type of improv quilting with fabric improvisational quilting where you don't do traditional quilts, you kind of break the rules. Let us know. Have you done that type of quilting? Now, before we get started deep into the conversation, Eileen says she bought some Restily rulers. The sampler set last week. Awesome. That's a great set. I have the sampler set. And good evening, Glenn. How are you? So glad that you're here. Yes, life is too busy. And then, Eileen, you went to the Original Sewing Quilting Expo. Awesome. Took several classes. Fantastic. And so Eileen says, yes, she has done a few improvisational pieces. Wonderful. And Veronica, how are you? A former guest of Quilt Conversations Live, Veronica Mays. If you did not watch her interview, go watch it in the replay on YouTube. Fantastic conversation. Veronica is an amazing quilter. She does portrait quilts and postcards. Speaking of which, I have your postcard. Thank you for the postcard that you sent me. I'm going to reach over. Do you mind if I reach over? I'm going to reach over and get the postcard. It's right over here. It's right over here. Here it is. Fabulous postcard. It's gorgeous. Thank you, Veronica. And I love the way it is sent. It's in this nice protective cellophane. It's all fabric on both sides. And this was one of my favorite postcards that we talked about during her interview. I love it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies, I'm going to show it up really close. Now, the postal stamp is removable, which I like that, and it doesn't damage the postcard. So I'm going to take that off and show you this beautiful postcard. Isn't that wonderful? I love it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I love your return address envelope. Sticker rather, your return address sticker. It's one of your quilts right here. Isn't that fabulous, ladies? Yes. Thank you, Veronica. Yes, it is gorgeous. All right. Yep. Long arm quilting and pantos. Trisha took some classes, I guess. Trisha, welcome, welcome. So glad that you're here. So thank you for this. I'm going to keep it protected. I'm going to keep it protected. Yes, I love it. So ladies, don't forget, go listen to her interview. It's really worth listening to and seeing her work. Beautiful quilts, beautiful portraits. Yes, Terry, the postcard is wonderful. I love it too. So updates for me, as many of you know, because some of you have already signed up, right? I am teaching a virtual class at Quilt Fest. If you're not familiar, Quilt Fest has several shows throughout the U.S., but they also have something called Schoolhouse, virtual Schoolhouse, and they do it by number. So I'm in Quilt Fest virtual schoolhouse number 10, and I'm teaching two classes. And you asked for it, so you got it. Some of you are not able to go on the quilting cruise next month where I'm teaching peaceful portrait. So I decided when I had the opportunity to teach virtually for Quilt Fest was to teach peaceful portrait. So I hope you will join me for that. I hope it's next year. It's January 22nd to the 25th, where you're going to get an opportunity to take this class. So sign up. Don't delay. Don't delay. A reason why not to delay is because they have a time frame in terms of whether the class is full, canceled, etc. So don't delay. What else? The second class, which is a popular in-person class, is swirls. Not swirls, spirals. Spirals with a twist. Spirals with a twist is all about that pattern that we love in free motion quilting, spirals. A lot of ladies go from meander to spirals. But did you know that there are many variations with spirals? Many, many, many. And I've explored them and I want to share them with you. There's spirals based on not just a circle, but on other geometric shapes like squares and triangles. But then there's another level of spirals that I want to share with you in Spirals with a Twist. And I taught it at Paducah this year. What's called the American Quilter Society Quilt Week at Paducah. I taught it in April. And one lady who took the class said she saw it in the program and she thought, spirals? What can I learn with spirals? I already know spirals. She said at the end of the class, I'm so glad I came because I didn't realize how much we could do with spirals. You've really opened my mind up to the design possibilities with spirals. So we're going to not only learn all these patterns, but we're going to learn how to take those designs and put them in a real quilt. And we're going to use my Radiant Star quilt. So I think Deanne has signed up for it. Yep, there she is. She signed up for the online class. Fantastic. I can't wait. It's really going to be fun. And Deanna, I was thinking about this when you told me you signed up, that you are already in the alphabet design course. So make sure you're going through the course material so that when you get to the course in January, the virtual course, you are all set. You have practiced, you know how to set up your machine, etc., etc. And you will have a lot of success in the class by doing so, right? So you have some homework. You have some homework. So I'm excited about this opportunity to teach two virtual classes. One that is a free motion class, Twisted Spirals, that is a first time ever being virtual, and Peaceful Portraits. These are two popular classes that many of you have responded to via social media and email and such. So I'm excited about that. So join me if you can. Let's see what else is happening. There's another virtual class that's coming up in November. It's a ruler quilting class that my brand, Living Water Quilter, is putting on, hosting. It's not through a quilt show. It's with one of my favorite templates, and I think it's one of your favorites as well, because every time I share a video with this particular acrylic template or ruler, ladies want to know, where can I get it? Where can I get it? And it's the Snowflake template. So this is also a first time ever, I'm teaching this virtually. And I've been teaching it in person, and some ladies took it recently at the Pennsylvania National Quilt Extravaganza in September. Madonna, were you in that class, the Snowflake class? We called it dot to dot because we use the Snowflake template with a circle. So if you didn't know, the Snowflake template, that's the name of it, or ruler, has different shapes at the end. It has a circle shape, it has a diamond shape like you see here, and it also has, I think, two other shapes. or maybe one other. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's at least 3 different shapes, right? But guess what? No matter which shape you get at the end, you can make the same designs. So we're going to make snowflakes that look like snowflakes with diamonds if that's the template that you prefer. So in the in-person class, we worked with the circle and we did everything with the circle at the end of the template. In this virtual class, you can use the circle, you can use the diamond shape, you can use both. So you will learn multiple designs based on whatever acrylic ruler you decide to purchase, which I think is fantastic. Yes, Madonna was in this class. Absolutely. Yes. You're welcome, Deanna. So Madonna knows there's so many designs you're going to learn. You get the opportunity to create not only block-based designs like this one. This is a circular design, which I call block-based, meaning you can put it right on top of a block. You can put it in negative space. But you're also going to learn how to stitch designs for the border and sashing designs. Easy, easy. And I know sometimes when I say easy, they think, oh, it's easy for you. It's easy for you. Madonna, was it hard? Let them know in the chat. Was it a hard template to use? Was it easy to learn how to use the lines on the acrylic ruler? Once I showed you what they meant, then it was easy, right? Say yes. Well, don't say yes because I'm asking you to. Be truthful. Be truthful. We start slowly. We start with an edge-to-edge design, and then we move up into more complex designs. But complex is really not a good word for it because I don't want you to be afraid. It's just more intricate designs. So this is a template that can be used on your home sewing machine. You can do quick edge-to-edge designs, and you can do border designs, and you can do snowflakes or block-based designs. Okay, so I hope you don't delay. If you are interested in this, don't miss out. I know it's coming up soon, and let me show you. If you want to get more information, just scan this QR code. It will take you directly to the page where it has all the information about the class. It's November 2nd, the 12th to 12 noon to 4 p.m. So it's 4 hours. So you get opportunity to stitch. You get demos by me, but you also get another bonus. I decided to include a full video course on how to set up your machine for ruler quilting success. That's a class that I sell separately on the website, but this is included in this virtual class. As many of you know already who have taken my online classes, you know it's full of resources. So you will get to keep that at the end of the class. So you always have that as a resource. How to set up your machine for ruler quilting success. The virtual class replay is good for 7 days after. So for 1 week after the class, you can review everything we did. You can re-watch the class for 7 days for 1 week. All right. Madonna says practice, practice, practice. Exactly, exactly. So that was my updates, what I've been up to. It was a lot of work, as you know, behind the scenes to put together virtual classes for Living Water Quilters website and also for Quilt Fest. So if you can join me, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you can come. And the quilt retreat is coming up. Some of you who are watching, we are going on a quilt retreat, and I can't wait. I've been focusing on that the last 2 weeks, getting all my class materials for you and working on some more samples. And this is in part why I wanted to talk to you about improv quilting. Because a lot of us think about improvisational quilting as a modern technique, but I don't know that it is, quote unquote, a modern technique. we can have a debate about what's traditional, what's modern, what's improvisational, but whatever it is that you want to call it, if you enjoy it, then do it, right? Why would we want to do improvisational quilting? Improvisational quilting, can you describe in one word in the chat, when you hear improvisational quilting, what comes to mind? For me, it's freedom. Freedom. With traditional quilt making, we have what? A lot of rules. And we have undesignated quilt police, as we like to call them, who like to tell us when we're breaking the rules. Now, as a teacher, yeah, sometimes I share different rules, techniques, directions on how to create something. But you ladies know I've always encouraged you that once I share how I do something, I always want you to find your own way, to be your own designer. So she thinks of free form quilting. I like that, Deanna. I like that. Free form quilting. And that's 3 words. That's not one word. So maybe you can't say it in one word, but I say freedom, and I like freedom. What else does improvisational quilting do for us? We don't have to work with a pattern. We create it as we go. Eileen says art and play. I love that. Playtime. And how many of us have a fabric stash? We have a fabric stash and we love to play with our fabric. It's an opportunity to use what has inspired us through fabric, right? Unique. I like that word, Terry. Unique. Yes, improvisational is unique because it's going to be unique to me, unique to you, unique to the fabric. It's not based on a pattern, right? Deanna says I'm wordy. I'm wordy too. I had this discussion with my brother today. A lot of the things that I do for quilting and business, I will call my brother. And sometimes he shows up here live. You'll say hello to him. He's a Army veteran, disabled Army veteran, and he is kind enough to listen to me as I talk about the different things that I'm putting together for you ladies, like the virtual classes. But today he told me that I over explained. I explained too much. And I said, well, that's because you let me do it. Because you're like a coach to me and I can't explain all these technical things. But he says, sometimes I don't need an explanation. Spontaneous. Yes, Marsha, I like that. That's fantastic. Spontaneous. Oh, your dad was in the Army. All right, Marsha. Wonderful. Wonderful. What else does improvisational quilting help us with? It helps us to focus more on the process than perfection. If you've ever tried improvisational piecing and you are, let's see, I wouldn't use the word perfectionist, but how about particular? And they say, okay, we're going to give you a bag full of scraps and you can't look at them. You just have to put your hand in, pull out the fabric, and you must use whatever you pull out. Is that stressful for you? Is it difficult to say, well, no, I don't like this one, and you're going to put it back in and pull out another one? I think that might be one of the challenges. Oh, Eileen, yes, I like that. Experimentation. Experimentation. Sometimes when we have a lot of structure, and I have to confess, I am a person of structure. I organize, and it's good as a teacher to have structure. But sometimes we need to have fun. Yes, Deanna, and experimentation, focusing on the process rather than being perfect will open our minds with more creativity. I believe so, but it takes actually practice. We have to practice being free and not quilting with rules. Here is maybe a challenge for some of us. We might be afraid to make a mistake. Go ahead, raise your hand in the chat. Raise your hand. Does improvisational quilting of any kind make you fearful of not sewing it correctly or it not looking good or right in your eyes? When I tried some improvisational piecing, I couldn't help it. I was still doing it based on structure. Deanna is hand waving. Yes. Yes. We can get afraid of it not looking correct, not allowing the entire process. Yeah, messing up nice fabric. I would agree. We are afraid of messing up nice fabric. And so, just like I've always said with machine quilting, practice, 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 maybe improvisational quilting, this freedom quilting, this free quilting, this experimental quilting, this fun quilting requires us to practice letting go. Letting go. Letting go. And Madonna says, I like being different. I love that. Letting go. If it doesn't look good, just keep going. And sometimes when I am creating machine quilting designs for my classes, or any of you who have taken my classes, you know that whether it's free motion or ruler quilting and you get a design packet, you're getting 10, 15, 8, you're getting a lot of designs, right? It just depends on the length of the class. I can give more design in a 6-hour class than a 3-hour class, say. It takes me trial and error. So I might have a stack of 10, 15, 20, 30 different designs that I've been practicing to see if they will work. And then if they do work, can I teach it? How do I teach it? Is it too complicated? But that's trial and error. So we don't see our waste bin. You don't see the things that we do and that we just, nope, didn't work. I got to start over. So it's getting comfortable with using mistakes, things that don't look good, right? We've talked about this before, right? That if we are afraid to create something that doesn't look right, that in our eyes is a mistake, we can hinder our progress, because in the errors, in the mistake, we actually learn. We say, oh, wait a minute, next time I'll do this. Instead of doing this, I'll try this fabric next time, right? Would you agree? Would you agree? So improvisational quilting can create not only this sense of freedom and creativity, it starts to unlock you as a designer. And then you start to see perhaps, right? Perhaps who you are. We can make patterns from other quilt pattern designers, right? Who had probably 15 to 20 or maybe 50 versions before they finally came to that final version that you are now stitching. If we took part in that process of designing with fabric, imagine that you will become a designer. Your personality will come through as a result. Happy accidents. Yes, I like that. Happy accidents. So I've had a lot of happy accidents. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm teaching a class, especially if I'm teaching it over and over again, is to find some new vision and motivation for it. New vision and motivation. So one is the straight line acrylic ruler quilting class. So remember, I told you I do very little to no improvisational piecing, but I do like to think on the fly improvisational quilting with some structure, because remember, I'm teaching. That's just my mindset. So I thought for the cruise ruler quilting class, a straight edge ruler that I'm going to use to help ladies learn straight edge quilting. So some of you are in my online classes like the Lydia tote. This tote bag is all about learning how to use a straight edge ruler and not have to mark. So that's fantastic, right? It has a modern quilting flair to it with straight lines. Very popular for modern quilters, straight line quilting. Also, another popular class is power lines, where we use one acrylic ruler that has a straight edge and a gentle curve. That class at almost every quilt show is sold out, right? It's a beginner class. Now, can we use an alternative? And this is my mind thinking, I'm letting you know how I do this designing. I thought, well, what if I took a straight edge and did some improvisational quilting, ruler quilting with straight edge? But it has to have some structure because I'm teaching it, right? So students love instructions. What do I do next? What do I do first? So I thought, let me try some improvisational ruler quilting for the cruise. So those of you who are joining on the cruise and you're in the Caribbean Reflections class, what I'm going to show now is what you're going to learn. And it is improvisational ruler quilting. You hate walking foot, straight line quilting. I just hate the walking foot, okay? I want to drive fast. That's what Glenn says. All right. So does that mean you are ruler quilting, Glenn? You're not using a walking foot anymore. You're using a straight edge ruler. Let me know if that's true. So before I show you what I want to share with improvisational ruler quilting, let me know if what I've shared so far makes sense about how improvisational, whether it's machine quilting with acrylic rulers or free motion, right? Improvisational quilting can be with free motion as well, right? What about piecing? Does it make sense what I've been sharing about improv, about how that can help us grow into who we are individually as quilters? So Deanna says yes, absolutely. So Glenn says she does use a walking foot. Sorry, I misunderstood. Yes, you do need to start using a straight edge ruler. It's going to change the way you quilt. It's not to say that I never go back to a walking foot, but most often if I'm doing straight edge, I'm using an acrylic ruler on a home machine. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about for acrylic ruler quilting. Let's go there. So this is a piece that I started specifically as a sample for improv straight line ruler quilting for the cruise. So ladies on the cruise, we're going to go over this in detail. How does that work with acrylic ruler quilting? If we're using the acrylic ruler to do improv quilting, what do we want to do? We want to have a little bit of structure, but very less structure and more improv. Put it that way, more improv. So basically, we're creating frames. We're going to create frames. And within the frames, we are free to quilt anything we want inside each of those areas. It is fun. It is fun. And that was another thing that I wanted to do when I thought about this class. We're on a cruise, we're on vacation. Too much structure in that situation can be draining, right? Not to say, ladies, that I'm not going to give you some instruction. There's still some instruction on how to use the ruler for improv, right? But what you're going to do, you're just going to mark some random lines on your quilt sandwich, and then they are going to intersect. and then they're going to create spaces when these lines intersect. Then you get to design a different straight line design in each of those areas, like I'm doing here. You can do it any way you want. That's improvisational straight line quilting. And this is what I did. I just went into each space and I quilted straight lines any way I wanted. I did not think about it ahead of time. I just did whatever I felt like doing. Hey, Kathy. Yes, so glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. Oh, ladies, you might be missing Lori tonight. She's usually on YouTube and she's our chat moderator. She couldn't be with us today. Lori, I know you're watching the replay. We miss you. So this is the improv, right? This is the improv, straight lines. But did I start there? Guess what? No, I didn't. I didn't start with this. Why? Because I'm a person of structure. So if you are struggling with the freedom with improvisational because you need structure, start with semi-structure, with just a little bit of structure, and slowly dismantle the structure. Remove the rule. Remove the rule. If you want to do more piecing improv, and say you want to make a 9 patch, you know with a 9 patch you need how many pieces of fabric? 9. Traditionally, we have squares that are all the same size. Change that rule. Do they all have to be the same size? Change the size of the squares. Start that way. Then change the shape. Do they all have to be squares? Could they be triangles and squares? How would you put those together in a 9 patch? Don't worry about it being square at the end. Just sew them together. Okay, so let's see. Glenn says, I would love to do that since I'm a modern quilter and definitely will be purchasing the ruler. That is a game changer. Fantastic. Yes, it is a game changer. So when you look at this particular improv, it's a small quilt sandwich. Start small, don't start big, right? Start small. But then translate the small into a bigger quilt. Learn from the small practice experience, right? Thank you, Marsha. I appreciate that. But there is a technique to this. So I can't wait to share this with you ladies who are going on the cruise. And if you've been watching me on social media, I added something to this, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So what's next? What's next? Let me see if I can share that with you. This was, or is, I should say, the structure. This is where I started. I started by dividing the space in a square. So if you look at this, there are 5 different areas. And in those 5 areas, I decided to quilt it this way. But did I have to? No. It looks very structured, but yet it was still improvisational. I still divided the space in 5 different ways. Hey, Sabrina, so glad that you're here. Welcome. So glad that you're here. Again, this is a small sample. It's not big, but this is another way not only to free yourself from structure and start improv, but you still have a little bit of structure. It's also a way to hone your skills with an acrylic ruler, to hone your skills with using it. And so in the class on the cruise, ladies are going to stitch this. They're going to learn how to stitch this so that they can continue to get better at using all the things that the ruler has for us to help us not have to mark it, right? I only had to mark like 4 lines on this, and then that was it. Everything else was not pre-marked. We're using the ruler. Hey, Rochelle, so glad that you're here. Welcome. So this is the first level of improv, right? And then the next one is this. Also, just divided the space with two lines that gave me four different areas, two squares and two rectangles, two squares and two rectangles. Hello, Lorraine. So glad that you're here. Welcome. But again, I chose to quilt it this way. But the students in the class are going to quilt each area any way they want. They're going to put two lines in, and then they're going to quilt it with the acrylic ruler. Can this be done on a big scale? Absolutely. Absolutely. You love the hot pink. Yes. Thank you, Marsha. Sometimes, you use what you have, right? This is my scrap bin. My scrap bin is not always small pieces. It's usually anything a little bit more than 3 inches or 4 inches square up to almost a fat quarter. So I love to do that. So hopefully you're getting the idea about how we can slowly migrate from structured ruler quilting to improvisational quilting. So this is where I started with the hot pink set before I got to the blue. And of course, the ladies on the cruise are going to get all the instructions on how to do all this. But then I had to go the next step. The next step that releases more of the rules, more of the structure. And the one before it had a vertical line and a horizontal line. So did the other one, vertical and horizontal. What if I did lines that were not vertical and horizontal, that provided more angles for the structure of the improv quilting, right? So this was the first improv where I did lines to divide the space, and they were not vertical and horizontal. They were connected, but they were angled, and it was completely free form. Once I had that base in place, then I started to quilt with a straight edge acrylic ruler, right? And I just echoed out. Can you see this being in one of your quilts? Could you create a design that's completely improv, straight line, that creates a secondary design over your quilt? Improv acrylic ruler quilting. Now, this is possible when you know how to use an acrylic ruler and you know how to read the reference lines on the ruler, you know how to use the features on a ruler. If you haven't seen my video on straight edge acrylic rulers, go to my YouTube channel, look up the Quilt Conversation live replay. It might be a video now. Do both. Look up the videos and the live replays. I did a session on not every straight edge ruler is the same. And so I share with you the straight edge rulers that I have and what their purpose are. And if you're in any of my online courses, that video is already embedded in your course. So if you're in the tote bag class or the ruler quilter star, I've given you those videos as part of your learning so that you know why I use a specific straight edge ruler. Rochelle says, I love all this. It makes me want to touch it. Awesome. I'm glad you like it, Deanna. Awesome. Hello, how are you? So glad that you're here. You're new to it. Wow, awesome. You're loving it so much. Wonderful. So glad that you've joined the quilting community. There's so many ways in which we can have fun and freedom in quilting, and improv quilting is one of them. Improv quilting is not one of them. So you've seen the progression. Here is the next one, which you've been seeing a video play in the background. This is the result. This is the result of the improv straight line quilting. Now, remember how we talked earlier about that when we do improv, doing it as we go we're bound to make a mistake or do something that doesn't look good. And you think, well, how can I clean this up? Can I fix it? So as I was quilting this, there are a lot of starts and stops and traveling, stitching over a certain area over and over again. And you can't always hit it right on the mark. So it starts to look a little messy. So I thought, how can I clean this up? And I thought, decorative stitching. Decorative stitching will tie it together to section off each area. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you like it. Thank you. And how many of us forget to use decorative stitching, right? The diamond shape, I think, works fantastic with this particular decorative stitching. I wanted something that was going to have some density to it. Not all decorative stitching has a lot of density to it in terms of the stitching, but I didn't want anything too dense, but it had to cover up all those areas where I wasn't stitching right on top. It had to cover that up. You like it? Yes. Thank you. I'm so glad you like it. So this is really a fun way to do improv ruler quilting and to practice this so that you get better at using an acrylic ruler once you learn how to use it, right? Domestic machine, long arm. How can we then move these to a bigger quilt, these techniques? You want to learn on a small scale. Let's see. Eileen is saying, I was going to ask earlier to show us the back after the embroidery. Do you mind the back of the embroidery stitching to show the back of the quilt? Now, I don't have a photo all set up, but what I can do is remove this, and when it gets to the end, I can show you in the video what it looks like without the decorative stitching. Is that what you're referring to, Eileen? Okay, I'm going to remove. Let's see if I can stop it right here. So you can see those lines that have multiple stitching in between each area. I got on top of it for the most part, but up close you can see that there's just a lot of messiness. Show us the back of the embroidery. Yeah, I don't have a picture of that. Hopefully this is... So what is the best machine to get for free motion? Someone is asking. So the best machine for free motion quilting... before I go to that question, let me go back to Eileen's question. I used embroidery stitching on my quilting for a project a few months ago, and I have been afraid a bit. I have been a bit afraid of the quilt police. Well, this is what this conversation is all about, Eileen, right? Improvisational quilting, I think, is a fancy word, perhaps, for quilting the way we want to quilt. You, me, all of us can quilt the way we want to quilt. And often that answer for quilt as desired that you see at the end of every pattern has to do with my abilities. What do I know how to do when it comes to finishing a quilt? Do I know how to hand quilt? And the answer would be no. I haven't learned. Do I know how to use a walking foot? Yes. That's the first thing that I did when I started quilting. I used a walking foot and I used decorative stitching. And now I use decorative stitching in quilts when I want to make a particular accent. I will mix and match techniques. We can do whatever we want. It is your quilt. So Kathy says, do you quilt the improv way on pieced, printed, or pattern quilts? Any and all of the above. We can mix and match techniques as much as we want. Some will work, but we won't know unless we try. So I try. Does it work on a piece quilt? Does it work on a pre-printed panel? Does it work on improv quilts? It all depends. If you've been coming to Quilt Conversations live long enough, you know that I've talked about the multiple ways in which that we can quilt, the number of ways in which we can quilt a project. And one is patchwork quilting, block-based quilting, and then we can do edge-to-edge quilting. We can section a quilt. So when I'm using, say, for instance, decorative stitching, I might do what people have done years ago. Remember Crazy Quilts? Where did they add the decorative hand stitching for Crazy Quilts or decorative machine stitching in Crazy Quilts? They did it right over the seam. So I will do that sometimes, the seams in between piecing, or I will do it in a strip of fabric. I might add it that way, but then it depends on the quilt. And it depends on you. Are you willing to experiment, to improv quilt with free motion quilting and acrylic ruler quilting? When we do that, when we experiment, we're going to find things that we don't like, and it's going to go in the bin, in the trash bin, for no one to ever see. You don't see the things that I normally don't share with you, the things that were unsuccessful, that were not, nope, this doesn't work. Try again. I let you see the results of all of the things that didn't work. The things that didn't work helped me create the things that do work. Lorraine says, rules? What rules? I use rulers. I have broken a few. Oh, Lorraine. Okay, so getting back to your question about what's the best machine for free motion quilting. The best machine for free motion quilting is one that has been made for free motion quilting. And normally you know that if the machine comes with a free motion quilting foot, it's an included accessory. So I have two machines that I got that came with a free motion foot. It's not to say that other machines that don't come with it can do free motion quilting, but those that generally do it well are ones that come with a free motion foot, and two are a straight stitch machine, not a zigzag machine, meaning this needle doesn't go back and forth. The needle only goes up and down, straight stitch. And so a lot of quilters like the Brother straight stitch machine, the Juki straight stitch machine, and Bernina's machine. The Burnett they just came out with a new one that's a straight stitch, high powered, because it's perfect for piecing and it's perfect for free motion quilting. Just no zigzag stitching. So if all you're doing is piecing and quilting, a straight stitch machine is fantastic. And those three are very popular. There's a Janome, a Brother, and a Burnett. Yeah, Juki, Brother, and now a Burnett that are straight stitch machines that quilters love. All right, let me get to some more questions. All right. Reagan says, thanks for the love and support through all the times. It's been a wonderful feeling for the fans around the world. Okay, I'm not sure who that is, but thank you, Reagan. You're welcome. You're welcome. So thank you so much for being here tonight. We had a fantastic time. Quilt Conversations live. We are at the top of the hour. Any more questions? I would love to hear what your thoughts are about improvisational quilting. Are you going to try improv ruler quilting? Is that something you want to try? How about improv free motion? We haven't really talked about that. We talked about ruler quilting, but improv free motion basically means you're doing whatever you want, whatever you like, right? Yes, says Deanna. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Ladies, thank you so much for being with me tonight. It's been wonderful to talk to you about this. I hope it's been an inspiration. And, don't forget that you have multiple opportunities to grow as a quilter through Living Water Quilter. I have provided online classes, virtual classes, in person classes, so that you have options. I hope you will join me for the virtual class with Quilt Fest. Remember, I'm teaching 2 classes. One is a free motion quilting class. Let me go back to, for those who were here later, Quilt Fest Virtual Schoolhouse. It's happening in January. Registration opened yesterday. Don't delay. Sign up as soon as possible. A free motion quilting class and also the peaceful portrait class. This is one I'm teaching on the cruise, but so many people liked it. I thought I'm going to have it as a class for virtual schoolhouse. So join me for that. Or free motion quilting. Okay, swirls. We're going to do some fabulous quilting with spirals. I keep saying swirls, but it's spirals. Spirals with a twist, right? If you're here for the first time, don't forget, if you enjoyed this session, give a thumbs up. Also, like it on Facebook, and don't keep it a secret. Don't keep it a secret. Let others know about Quilt Conversations Live. I love coming to meet with you every other Friday. We're here on the first and third Friday. And speaking of which, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm starting a new vertical version of Quilt Conversations Live on Thursdays, the second and fourth Thursday at 8 p.m. on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So whichever platform you prefer, join me there. Put it on your calendar, the second and fourth Thursday. All right? I can't wait to see you. You're welcome, Deanna. You're welcome, Madonna. Yes, I can't wait to see you on the cruise, Madonna. It's going to be fun. Great tips and creativity. You are quite welcome. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And I'll see you ladies for another Quilt Conversations Live. Take care, ladies.